Hello, everyone. This is Twyla Kowalchuk, and I'm happy to welcome you to the August Abundance webinar workshop series. It's an eight workshops over the span of the month of August, and it's all about how to have more of the good things in life: more time, more money, more fun, and more love. So today's week, we're starting week 3, and we've got an amazing guest. Her name is Karen Perry. So excited to have you with us, Karen. Hello.
Hi.
All right. So Karen is a CPA and a former financial executive who was uninspired, overworked, and overwhelmed. And when this started to affect her health, that's the point she got to where she said, enough is enough. So now Karen is a certified professional coach, and her passion is helping people go from stressed to blessed, and then from blessed to being a blessing in this world, just like Miss Karen Perry is. Big blessing for everyone. So glad you're here. So today, Karen's presentation is going to be on how to tell your inner critic, that little voice that just nags at you, well, basically how to vanquish it. And she's going to give us 3 fun, simple steps to reclaim control and create more joy and purpose in your life. So I'm going to go over a few housekeeping things before I hand it over to Karen. Karen is going to be available for a Q&A at the end of her session. And so I definitely encourage you to, as questions come up throughout the presentation, type them into the chat box so you don't forget them. And then I'll address them, well, I'll speak them, mention them to Karen, and she can address them at the end. And yeah, she's going to answer as many questions as she possibly can at the end. So, and also I want to mention, stay tuned to the very end because Karen does have a special offer for you. So I want to thank Karen for being here today, and over to you.
Yay. Thank you, Twyla. Oh, I'm so glad everybody's here. And what a fun topic. I think it's fun. So I guess, we're all muted right now, but you can raise your hand. But how many people here actually talk to themselves? Yes? Okay, come on, admit it. How many people admit that you talk to yourself? So how many people admit that you answer yourself? Yeah? We all do. And it's funny because sometimes people are like, well, that's the only way I can get an intelligent answer. Well, and sometimes it's the only way we can get the answer that we want to hear. But the fun thing, and that what makes it kind of fun, and we're talking about vanquishing that inner critic, but in reality, what we're going to do is create a fun way to transform it. So we want to acknowledge that we talk to ourselves, and we want to have the conversation. But my challenge to each and every one of us is to carry it even deeper. We do it at a surface level, and then we sort of stop, and then we feel stuck, or it beats us up, and we wonder why life seems so hard and it's a struggle. And I guess one of my favorite quotes, Anonymous said it. It's really not sure the origination of this quote, but it's if we all talked to others the way we talk to ourselves, we'd all be in jail. Isn't that true? We're horrible to ourselves. We say horrific things. And most of the time when it is our little inner critic doing it, it's a third person. But it also takes credit if it does something well. It's like, I did that. Did you see what I just did? Yeah, I just, aced the test. I just was really great in this athletic endeavor I was doing. I did, 3 laps in the pool today. Whatever, we take credit if it looks good. But if something, like if you trip over nothing when you're walking, don't you look around and go, God, who saw that? You klutz, you idiot, what are you doing? We say these horrible things to ourselves, and we're like, who do you think you are? What are you doing? And we just let it go with that, and then we feel bad. And then we look around going, geez, I don't know what to do with all that. And we look for other things to blame or ourselves to blame, and then we beat ourselves up and we wonder why we're not as happy and as satisfied as we could be. So today we're going to explore this a little deeper. So the 3-step process, we talked about 3 simple steps to really vanquishing your inner critic, but it's really talking about taking back your power, taking back what is yours and the rightful place that this inner voice has in our head. So the 3 steps, and I'm going to give them to you, 1, 2, 3, and then we'll dive in a little deeper. Number 1 is identify the inner critic. You could call it the rebel within. We call it sometimes our ego, our shadow self. A lot of these words can be used interchangeably in our speech, but today we're going to talk about the inner critic, and if I slip up and say one of these other terms, you know what I'm talking about. So step number 1 is identify the inner critic. Step number 2 is to recognize its tactics. And step number 3 is to stop it in its tracks. So number 1, identify. Number 2, recognize its tactics. And number 3, to stop it in its tracks. So number 1, how do you recognize it? How do you identify it? I'm sorry, I messed it up. Number 1 is identify. 2 is recognize. So 1, how do we identify this inner critic? So we get so comfortable with the voices in our head that a lot of times we don't even realize we're having this negative connotation until we just feel bad. So part of it is to pay attention to how you're feeling and then to examine it. So identifying it is to go, you know, it can be sly and it can be tricky. And we know that and say, what's going on here? And we can get really curious. So a lot of times is we will watch and be aware of ourselves. So we identify it and we say, this inner voice, this inner dialogue in my head. And then we can take it a little step further and go, wait a minute. So what does this mean? What is this conversation I'm having? So I want to notice it, acknowledge it, and expose it. In essence, shine the light. So it's almost like you're walking around with a flashlight and saying, back over here in the recesses of this dark, shadowy place where I'm beating myself up, take myself out to the alley, so to speak. So we can just get curious and identifying and say, this is my inner voice, my inner conversation with myself. And recognize it's unique and it's ours. We created it. So own it. Look at it. Start to love it a little bit. Show a little love. Shine the light. So it doesn't really like attention, and it doesn't like to be questioned and be scrutinized, because a lot of times when you shine that light, it'll be like, I don't know. You just start scrambling for what ifs and for instances. So if you ask it going, what are you talking about? What do you mean you're an idiot? Really? Am I an idiot? Well, no, I'm not an idiot. You know, I may have tripped over my own feet just now. Does that mean I'm clumsy? So I'm just identifying this dialogue, shining the light, and start to take it a step further. So that is the first step, is to recognize that you're having this conversation within yourself. So the voice behind it creates a lot of doubt, fear, these feelings of ickiness and yuckiness. And that's one of the ways that you're able to identify what's really happening in your head. So then we want to recognize its tactics. Its job, the inner critic, is to keep you safe. And in keeping you safe, it only knows what it's ever experienced. So it looks out there and it tries to keep you safe. And anytime that you are stretching outside of your comfort zone, it's scary and it's fearful. So this inner critic can come in and say, whoa, 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 can't do that. You're going to lose everything. They're going to take your full Who do you think you are? You're not good enough. The last time you tried something like that, remember back in the 6th grade when you and Susie and John were all on the jungle gym and your hand slipped and you fell? You don't ever want to look stupid like that again, right? So a lot of times that we can look at it and say, wait a minute, I'm not in 6th grade anymore. And so we're just recognizing the tactics and having fun with it, because this fear and this doubt that it's instilling, it's not real. It's not now. So we want to look at this life that we deeply desire and get quizzical, curious, whimsical, have fun with our little inner critic. So it's like, I don't know, it's like really letting the passion, your passion, come out. So much of the time we want to control, and the inner critic wants to control, and it's trying to control events and circumstances, and you feel out of control if you can't do that. And that's one of the tactics, is you want to recognize that the more out of control you feel, then you may be onto something, because it's really a lie that you can control anything other than what you choose to think about. And some of the things that is you, how you breathe, your routines, your habits, these are the things where real control lies. But our inner critic wants us to think it all has to align out there so that then we could be happy. And that robs us of our joy today. So this inner critic, it's tricky, it's sly. We want to identify it. A lot of that is by how we feel. And that shine the light on the thoughts that are affecting and causing those feelings. So now we're going a little bit deeper. And then we want to go, wait a minute, you're trying to keep me safe. Thank you for that. But I've got this. So in recognizing the tactics is that it's in letting go of the control that we get control. So it's the paradox, the mystery of life. It's really a shattering of things that we have built a logical sense around, because the inner critic, again, it's reporting back to us based on all that it, meaning you, have experienced in the past. So now you're here today trying to go into the future and create this life that you would love to live, and you feel stuck or not happy or beating yourself up and blame and ugh and oh. And so we're like, oh, let's stop it. Out with all of that. So now that we know what it feels like, we know how to recognize it, we can start to pay attention, shine the light of our thoughts, go a little bit deeper, and really let go of control. And there's some resonance here because we have songs like Let It Go, the children's song that we all now are singing in our head. Let it go. And we have sayings like let go and let God, being in the flow. All of these cliches have purpose and point to a truth. So it's ours to wake up to this. Personal growth and our personal transformation is always beyond that inner critic's sense of control, logic, reasoning. So we want to challenge it, and we want to look at it, and we want to wake up, snap out of it. Whew. It's like, ah. So if we're beating ourselves up, just recognize it, look at it, we know its tactics, and now we can get to the fun stuff to stop it in its tracks. So all of this little inner critic is when we put things in right view, right vision, we know that as spiritual beings, our inner critic, the voice in our head, our ego, has purpose. And it's here that every morning when we wake up, we don't have to relearn how to walk and talk and use our words and form them and get across the room. We do it automatically. There's certain things that allow us to add to, but we don't have to keep relearning some of these basic things. And we're grateful for this egoic self that can just function without us, quote, thinking about it. So we want to put it in its proper place and say, thank you. You have purpose. You have reason. And know that we are not that. You are more than your thoughts. You're more than you think. It's like the connection to the great I am. I am that. I am. I am, I am, I am. So it's tapping into a spiritual being that we are, having a human experience, and grateful for our inner voice, our critic, our ego, that can take care of certain things so we can get on with more fun things and as extensions and growth and evolution. So now we can go outside of our comfort zone, where we feel crippled by fear and our inner voice that keeps us stuck in the status quo. This is where we look at it and we say, okay, how do I stop this? How do I stop this madness so that I can create more fun, more joy, more passion, more peace in my life? So now here's another 3 steps. This is the fun part. And before I give these 3 steps to you, I want you to envision a fly swatter. You got it? Everybody got that annoying, pesky little fly that zzz, you hear it. You know it's there and it's zooming all around, and it's like, So just imagine you have a fly swatter in your hand. What happens when you get ready? You hear the zzz. So you wait, it gets quiet, you look for it. You almost get really still, holding your breath, so to speak. And then in this stealth 1-2, you like, whoosh, and you swat that fly. That's what we want to do with the lies that our inner critic is telling us. We want to stop, spot, and swap. So instead of swat, I'm using the word swap. Stop, spot, swap. So it's the 3S secret, the 3S formula to vanquishing the inner critic. So stop dead in your tracks, stop, freeze, center. Now we've known its tactics. We've recognized it, that this is our inner critic. This is our, quote, worst enemy. So now we want to look at it and say, how can I transform this into my greatest ally and stop this cycle of sabotage? So it's to stop. Notice it. Get curious about it. So once you notice the negative self-talk and realize that, hey, look, everybody does it. It's commonplace. When we were talking in the beginning, I'm like, how many people talk to ourselves? All of us raise our hand. How many answer ourselves? Yes. Now we want to get curious and start to challenge ourselves and question ourselves below the surface. So stop, notice these negative messages, become aware of, this is my inner critic. This is my little voice inside of my head. It's affecting my mood. It's taken a lot of energy. So I want to really challenge this type of thinking and start to transform it to serve me. Use it for my good. So that takes us to the second S, to stop it in its tracks. It's like, whoop. So this is the fly swatter, and it's like getting ready to come down, and we're landing that blow. It's like, stop it right in its tracks. So even if we look at it and we start to challenge and going, is it true? My example of walking across the room and tripping on the floor. And I use this because it happens to me. I'll just be walking and trip, and I'm like, looking around going, hey, did y'all see that? I've learned to laugh at it and go, oh my God, I can be such a klutz. And now I look at it and say, well, is that true? Am I a klutz? And it's like, yeah, maybe, could be. And it's like, well, I like my little klutzy self now. It took me a while to like my klutzy self. And it's like, I actually kind of think she's cute. I mean, she's kind of fun and she's cheerful. And I don't really worry about it. And I look around now to see if everybody else is having as much fun and laughing with me, not at me. But if everybody can look around and I'm like, y'all, this is fun. And if I got hurt, then I can go, hey, come help me up. So it has more purpose than that. So it's like I've learned how to challenge and transform my klutzy little self. And that leads us into step 3, which we'll talk about more in a minute. But by stopping immediately and starting to shine that light, bring then my inner critic into the light, then I can start to really deny what's not true and say, wait a minute. So what if I'm a klutz? Who cares? And I can look at it and really start to use it. Back in the 1800s, so again, this is nothing new, and it's not just you. We're all in this together. There was a person named Prentice Mulford who was a very prominent pioneer in the thought process, thought thinking, thought pioneer back in the 1800s. And he actually had what he termed as thought refusal. And I love it. We can do something so simple, and I like simple, the simpler the better. And here's what he said: I refuse this thought and the mental condition it has brought on me, which affects my body. If you are really brave and decisive, you can simply say, delete, to remove unwanted negative thoughts. So you can just go delete. You can say it out loud. Or if you're in a public place and don't want to do that, then you can just say it inside your head. But when you become aware, again, you're waking up, you're recognizing, you're noticing. And I can say, for example, in mine, I can go, God, I'm such a klutz. Really? Am I a klutz? So what's wrong with that? Okay, well, delete. I can let go of that. Doesn't matter. So you can just go delete, done, gone. Now, it's not always that easy. And that's why I talked about you can start to question it for its truth. Shining the light. We look at this negative criticisms we have of ourselves, a lot of times identifiable in the third person. And then the next time you become aware of that negative thought or any negative thought, challenge it. Ask yourself, is this true or not? So when you pit that negative thought against what actually is true, it can be really simple, and that can transmute it. That can dissolve the negative effects and that energy drain of feeling stuck and at the effect of everything or everyone or even your own self, beating yourself up. So it can be a powerful step towards shattering any negative effects and this negative beliefs or misbeliefs. A second part of this questioning for the truth is to correct it. So what if you go, well, no, this isn't true? Well, then what is true? So we want to correct it. Correct what is untrue by coming up with what is true. What is true? So now that you acknowledge and you challenge your inner critic, the next time is you can then begin to replace any inaccurate assessments with a more accurate and empathetic truth. So instead of, oh my God, you're such a loser. I mean, you're so clumsy, such a loser. You'll never succeed. You can't even walk across the floor. I mean, it's like, so maybe it's like, okay, well, I may not be perfect, or so what? I may trip every now and then and fall flat on my face. But you know what? I tried. I get up and I'll walk across the floor and I'll do it again. And a lot of time I get pretty daggum good results when I get to the other side of this room. I get what I went after. So when we carry it through, we can find a way to transform it and replace the negativity with some positive thought that carries some truth to it. So we want to make it believable and go, okay, well, okay. And then, so there was an example that I just gave you. So the third is to swap. Stop, spot, swap. So we've stopped it dead in our tracks. We've spotted it, and then even in spotting this inner critic, we have learned to carry that a little bit deeper and saying, okay, I'm questioning it for the truth, and then I'm replacing it with a more true statement, going, okay, this wasn't true, and what is true, or what can be true for me. So then the other one is to swap it. So now the fly swatter is in full swing, and in a nanosecond, you've got to be ready with that new I statements. And we've alluded to this. So as we've noticed, a lot of times the inner critic speaks to us in third person. And now we want to come in and go, well, what can I do? So swapping it with the truth is really asking empowering questions, going, well, what is true? What can I do? What can I do to move this forward and move myself forward? So I statements become powerful. You take your power back. And that's what we were talking about, is reclaiming control. That inner critic wants you to think it's in control and everything outside of you has to align perfectly in order for you then to be happy or successful or to feel at peace or joyful. And that is not true. It comes from within. So in this transformation, the vanquishing of the inner critic, what we really are doing is transforming it from our worst enemy into our greatest ally. And that brings us the peace, joy, and brings passion and purpose back into your life. So how do you do that? Well, you're taking control, taking responsibility for what you can do. And they assert what you really believe by connecting with what you're feeling. So here's an example. It's like, you never do anything right. You know, that little voice may say something like that. You never do anything right. You mess this up every time. What is a powerful I statement? What's the truth? Well, the truth could be, well, God, I'm so frustrated. I feel frustrated. And I'm angry. I am ticked off when things don't work out the way I thought they would, and they don't reflect how hard I'm trying. And then now you can go, wow, okay, great. So now I've just attached it to my feelings. And I said, well, I'm angry, I'm ticked off, things aren't working out. So now I can even take it a step further and go, okay, well, what can I do? What am I willing to do about that? Well, I can slow down. I can pay attention. I can be more mindful, more centered, more present. Most of the time, the inner critic is so busy feeding us all the things, and it's like it worries for us. What do you want to call it? It gets all in our business, right? And we get all tripped up and concerned about the past and all basically imprisoned by the past, or we get worried about what could happen in the future or might go wrong, that we never even take positive actions towards what we want or desire. So the 3 steps, the 3 S's, stop, spot, swap, and that fly swatter image in a nanosecond, you can take control back. And you can reframe the negativity into a positive I statement. So that alluring inner critic that just so captivates us and takes us off into, down the rabbit hole of despair, and it just really robs us of our joy. The faster you wake up, the faster that we recognize its tactics, that we see it for its truth, meaning it's trying to help us, it's trying to keep us safe, and it's trying to keep us small. And then we'd come up with, be a little proactive, come up with, what are you good? What makes you you? What are the things and the qualities and the characteristics that make me beautiful and unique, that I love about me? Yes, even the things that I don't love, we can learn to embrace. Like, I can be clumsy and I can learn to laugh about it. I personally believe that life is meant to be joyful. It's meant to be fun. I think that struggle and pain is optional. I think pain has purpose. And when we have the courage to shine the light on our pain, then we can stop and pause, spot what's really going on, question it, and swap it out for what the truth is. Because as Twyla was saying, that is my purpose, my passion is to help us go from stress to blessed and from blessed to being a blessing in the world. That which you already are. How do you do that? Well, cut ties with the lies, get tethered to the truth, and hopefully this 3-step process to have fun with our inner critic, identify it, recognize it, stop it in its tracks. How do we stop it in its tracks? With the 3 S's. That's annoying little fly. Stop, spot, swap. So hopefully that's giving you some insights and will serve you.
Definitely. Thank you, Karen. Do you want to tell us about your Thriveability session?
Oh my gosh, yes. Thank you. So most of us, we hear all the time, oh, if I can just survive, if I can just get through another day. Our inner critic starts to go, well, it's just okay. It's just enough. I'm just so crazy busy. We don't thrive. And so when we recognize that this inner critic, it's doing its job, it's trying to keep us safe, and we're not it. So what are we? What is it? What is it? You know, I'm the bomb. It's like, yes. So what is your yes? What makes you thrive? So that's what I would love to share with you as a Thriveability session, to just not get by, learn the tactics of the inner critic, actually go a little deeper and say, okay, who am I? Who do I want to be? And, who do I want to be when I grow up? Wouldn't that be fun? What if I get to make it up every day? What does thriving look like? So this Thriveability coaching session in the spirit of August abundance, and by the way, it was my happy birthday too. So it's like a generous gift because as I give, I get to help others go from stress to blessed and be this blessing. So we're going to do 3 things. My purpose during this session is to serve you, helping you create a crystal clear vision of what thrive means for you. It does not mean the same to everyone. Everybody, your success is not my success. It's uniquely you. So we start to look at it and go, what is this specialness about you? What do you bring? What do you want? So what does thriving looks like? And we'll start to go, where are you headed? And what do you need to make it happen? And then we'll look at what's getting in the way. We'll uncover some hidden blocks. When we talked about feeling stuck earlier, the inner critic keeps us safe in the status quo. It drains our energy being there. I mean, we're like a hamster on a wheel. We're expending more and more energy trying to get more and more of the same. And what we really want is something new and different. And we want to be thriving. So we'll look at hidden energy blocks and see, where are they in your body? A lot of this I'll do intuitively, and then, help you, help you tune into what you already know. And then what is that causing? What's the cost of this? What may be hidden and sabotaging your own success? And then by the end of the session, you're going to be leaving feeling renewed, ready to, be you and be this awesome you, ready to thrive and get inspired and seeking and playing in the life that you love, and knock some of this madness, this inner critic tactics to the curb once and for all. So this is like, for this time, I think the replay comes out over the next week. So, my schedule is pretty packed through August, but there's a couple time slots left. September is there, so is open. My objective is that anybody that is ready to say yes and take advantage and put their inner critic to work for them, making it their greatest ally, then I want to be there. I want to help you and serve you. And I'm committed to doing that. So we've got in the notifications. You'll be getting a link. I think Twyla has put it. If you're online, you can click the link right now in the chat section. But it is https:// lifecoaching with kp.lpages.co/thrive-ability-session/. So I'll repeat that one more time, https:// lifecoaching.lpages.co/thrive-ability-session/. So book it. You'll have access for when you register there. I'm also giving away my 7 principles to peace. Some of the things that I've talked about is living a life that identifies what your passion is, what your purpose is, and finding joy. So I think that ultimately we all want peace, joy, and passion. We all want to know, why am I here? What am I here for? So I've got 7 principles to peace, joy, and absolute passion, which I'm giving those to you as well when you book your session. So those will be on their way to you. And then we'll serve you with a thrivability session, and it would be my honor and privilege to help you figure out and get clear on what thrive means, what's getting in the way, and unleash this life of purpose, passion, joy, and peace.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Karen. That sounds like a lot of fun. I hope everyone takes advantage of that if they're interested in it. I did put the link in the chat box, so you can click on that and book your session with Karen and have some fun doing that for sure. And now it's question and answer time. So if you want to type into the chat box your question, I can read it for Karen. Or if you're on the phone, you can press *2 to raise your hand, and then I'll unmute you and you can ask your question directly, or you can unmute yourself by pressing *6 if you're on the phone. And also, if you are on the web call, then you can just unmute yourself if you like. There's a little microphone with a line through it that you can click so that you will be able to speak and you can ask your question directly that way. Or you can also share your biggest aha from the session that you got and you are excited about. And I just want to tell you, Karen, that 2 people, I think it's Christy and definitely JJ, said happy birthday.
Oh, thank
it's
you.
your birthday month.
It's my birthday
month. Yes. Okay, so there is a question. This says, hi, Karen. I came in late, so maybe you covered this, but can you explain more about how your inner critic can be your ally?
Yeah, absolutely. That inner voice in our head, when we recognize it, a lot of times it's trying to keep us safe, and it looks at what we don't know or haven't had a positive experience with as fearful. So transforming it into our greatest ally is to actually spend a little time with it. Shine a light. It's like walking around with a flashlight, and it can be fun because the fear, it's not real. The fear is in our head. It's the stories that we tell. And it's the inner critic, when we start to really dig deeper and challenge it, a lot of times we just start making, you can feel you're grasping, you're reaching, trying to, we try to rationalize and explain away some things of resentment. And when we get really curious, it's like we hit this place and we're like, well, I don't know. It's because it's just not real. It'll vanish. So to turn it into our ally is to realize it's there trying to serve us. It's there to get our attention. And fear is kind of like a flag waving, going, whoa, whoa, opportunity, learn something here. And so when we start diving in a little deeper, we can realize that whatever it is we're afraid of, when we start to examine it, we can transform it. We can go, well, wait a minute, is this really true? well, how else could I look at it? What would someone else see? We can reframe it. We can look and go, well, what is the truth? Well, what can I do? What am I able to do? And all of a sudden now that voice, once it has been acknowledged and been paid some attention to and the light shines on it, all of a sudden it can start to get behind us and say, okay, what can I do? How can I help you? And go, wait a minute. I've been here all along trying to get your attention and tell you that it's okay to be a klutz. You know, I don't know why I'm bringing this up today. You know, I think because I tripped over a twig walking out earlier to go get the mail. And I was like laughing at myself in the driveway. And I was like, man, there's nobody here to laugh with. So, so I was just like, okay, well, I'll just have a conversation with myself, and started going, wow, but look, there must have been a storm. The leaves are falling. Things are changing. Oh, look, the stick can be used over here. And, oh, I'm going to have a fire, roast marshmallows this weekend. I'll save it. So all of a sudden, things transmute. And I have been able to transform something that I saw as a stumbling block into a support for success. So always our inner critic can be turned into our greatest ally if we have the courage to shine the light, get curious, and keep going, knowing that what we're afraid of really isn't real. And even if we challenge it and go, okay, well, so what if that does happen? So what? Then what? Okay, well, then what could I do? Well, is it really true that I don't have any choices? Well, no. So what? What if you tripped over this stick and fell and broke your nose? Okay, well, eventually somebody would come by and find me, or not. So what? But that didn't happen. So a lot of our fear is foolishness. And once we realize it, we can do that 3S, stop, spot, swap, for something that is the truth, more supportive and transformative to help us to thrive. I hope that answered the question.
Well, I think it did, but I'm sure Christy will let us know too whether or not she liked your answer. I really like that. So what and then what? Because a lot of the time we get in our heads and it's like, oh, this totally impossible thing is going to happen. But it's like, no, so what? And what if it does happen? I'll still be fine. So yeah, Christy does say, thank you, Karen. So I think she's happy with your answer. And I have another question for you from Trish. She says, how long is a session and what is the cost?
So great question. So the Thriveability session, plan about an hour. When you book it, it will block an hour on our calendars. So I'm committed to giving you that much time. Does it take that? I don't know, but we'll move as quickly as possible. And I say plan an hour, and the cost is zero, free. It's a perfect cost. Everybody can afford it.
Yeah.
It's the gift to help you thrive. And it's really, as I said, I spent a lot of time, really my lifetime. So trying to succeed, trying to be what I thought was successful, and trying to create this wealth. And I had loyalty and all these things that I almost to death. I mean, I was so dedicated, so loyal, and kept looking for my employer, my boss, to validate me, to appreciate me. And then I'm like, they don't care, they don't appreciate. And then my health started suffering, and I was working more and more hours, doing less and less things I enjoy, almost as a punishment. And so my inner critic was roaring loudly, going, well, see, you're not good enough. You need to do this, work harder, get more, be more. You've got to give. Oh my God, it's all out of control. If you stop, it's all going to fall apart. And so when I challenged it and went, okay, so what if it does all fall apart? I went, I'm not even having fun with all that it is anyway. It needs to fall apart. Thank you, God. Yeah. So, because this isn't working. And it wasn't one health problem, two, it was 5. I had 5 years of something significant. Every single thing, the number one cause was stress. And I would look it up and go, oh my God, stress. Oh my gosh, this is horrible. When is somebody going to do something about it? When are they going to get me help? When are they going to do this? Don't they see? And I'm like, I was the cause. So the Thrive ability is to help you take back control. And yes, that is your responsibility. And yes, it can be fun. And yes, it seems fearful, but that's the lie.
Yeah, thank you for exposing that lie. And that is a big piece. It's not true, but we think it's true. That inner critic. So there's 3 people wished you happy birthday. I was going to tell you. That was Tanya and Jen and another lady, Diane. Diane also says, that's an amazing gift. Karen, awesome. I so appreciate your generosity. Blessings. And then Trish has another question. She says, is there any pre-work questions that would be helpful to do before having that Thriveability session?
The pre-work is for you to say yes and to book it. Just in the fact that you say yes and you move forward. If you're asking these questions, then congratulations, because you're getting curious and you're having fun with yourself in the inner critic. So the pre-work is to do it, get it booked, and then show up. That's the pre-work. And because what's happening is you've already set things in motion to get the most out of our time together. And that's what will come through.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Very true. So does anyone else have any questions? I'll do one more call for questions. And in the meantime, I'll ask a little question. So Karen, where do the inner critic's false thoughts come from? Or do we even need to care about that? Do we need to analyze it or just...
Where does the inner critic what come from?
Those false thoughts, all those little nagging, untrue thoughts.
Yeah, so energetically, there's really 4 main things that block us. The inner critic is the biggest one that carries the most emotion, and it can come from our past experiences. It can come from assumptions that we make, even, and the certain belief systems. So our limiting beliefs, all of these block us. The inner critic is very, very powerful and passionate because it comes from us deciding or looking at parts of ourselves that aren't good enough, that we try to avoid or overcome, and that's the struggle. That's why that inner critic kind of talks so harshly to us sometimes, is because it's saying, oh my God, I don't ever want to experience that. So you don't want to be that. And so it stops you from experiencing what it thinks is going to be a future letdown. So it comes out roaring, going, you don't ever want to look stupid or silly, or so you better just stay right here. You're clumsy. Don't even do it. Don't even try to do anything ridiculous. Why don't you let your spouse go get the mail? Why should you even bother? Because you may fall in the road and somebody might see you. So we stop, and it can get really creative and crafty and sneaky, which is why most of us, when we get good at seeing it, we might recognize its tactics, but a lot of times we don't see it because they've developed over our lifetime, a lot of times since we were children.
Yeah.
So is that helpful?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and part of the work, and that's why working with someone and getting some help is because, good and good enough is kind of the enemy of great and the potential that all of it that you have. And so once we realize that it doesn't have to be hard, and it's a lie that life is hard and it's a struggle, and then you die. I mean, it's like, so why bother? It's very low energy. Actually, it takes a lot of energy to maintain that lie. And that's what the inner critic's doing. So when we intellectually go, wait a minute, I can get it, feel through it, and go, wait a minute, it's there. Its job was trying to protect me, but I'm not that. Like, we can watch our thoughts. I can ask you right now to think of think of eating, think of peeling a mango. I just had mangoes. I don't love mangoes, but I mean, just think of a mango and think of, oh, what about mango chutney? Or what if I put it on, a pork chop? What if I make a mango smoothie? Now all of a sudden you probably had a sensation of ice crystals in your mouth even. So you went from a tartness to a soothing taste in your mouth and almost probably got a cooling effect, and nothing's happened except the thought. So our inner critic plants these thoughts in our head, and once we examine them, we can go, how can I use this? Is this serving me? Is this helping? Is it taking me closer to my goal or further away? And we start the process to get clear on, well, how do I thrive? How do I use this and create this ally for what used to be my enemy? And for me, it's all about fun. If it can't be fun, then I don't want to do it. Again, struggle's optional, and it's finding purpose in pain, allowing the feelings to come forth so that they can be healed to take their rightful place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's really about setting that intention and that goal. I am going to thrive. I'm not going to struggle anymore. Making that decision. It's a big decision. So thank you so much. Tanya says, great point to what you were just saying. And there's one more little question from Diane. She says, will the sessions that you do be via Zoom or phone call?
Either way, if you're in the U.S., we can do it by phone. If you're international, then it would probably be Zoom or either Skype.
Okay.
Either one. So it's whichever you prefer.
Okay.
Like it fun and easy. We'll make it fun. We'll make it easy. And I think when you book the session, there's a place to either put your phone number or it will have my Skype information. But you can put something in that text box. And then if you need to email me, Karen, at lifecoachingwithkp.com. So we can certainly communicate and make it easy.
Okay. I'll put that in the chat box too. Karen, can you say that one more time? Karen at, what was it?
Karen at lifecoachingwithkp.com.
No dashes or anything in there?
For the email, no. For the email, it's just Karen at lifecoachingwithkp.com.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Diane says, perfect, thanks. And I saw Tanya activate her video. Tanya, do you have a question? Are you coming on to have a little chat with Miss Karen today? Oh, yes, you are.
Hi.
Oh no, I can see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you. Can you hear her, Karen?
No, I can't. We can't hear you, Tanya.
Nope, nothing. Oh, now she was still muted. Let's see if, now she's not. Okay. Dawn, I really wanted to hear your beautiful voice, Tanya. Can you type it in? And we can
I don't know why the voice, the sound, we can see your mouth moving, but we can't hear you.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, we're sending love.
Yeah. We are. Okay. Type. Okay. All right. Well, I guess I just want to give you a big thank you. I don't know if Tanya's going to write in a question or not. Can you give a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Are you going to write it in, Tanya? Oh, she said she unmuted herself, but still can't hear her.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyways, thank you. Yeah, I unmuted you.
So I don't know, I'm feeling like to just summarize this one more time. 3 steps to vanquish the inner critic. Identify, recognize, and stop. And then under stop is our 3S. Stop, spot, swap. So it's like really taking this work and going deeper, shining the light, have fun. So, I mean, here's the thing. When we realize that our inner critic really is our ally, then we can have fun with it, and we can get curious, and we can make it not so a personal attack, meaning, oh my gosh, oh, a lot of times we feel like everybody's against us. Well, it's because we're against us. We're not utilizing all that is showing up to help us. And it really is our ally. And so get help. That is the greatest sign of strength that anyone could have, is to say, oh my gosh, I'm not in this alone. And so I think that's been why so many things are a success. When we, like Alcoholics Anonymous, there are divorce support groups, Weight Watchers, all of the things. And by the way, those are negative effects of the inner critic, right? Left unchecked, the inner critic will wreak havoc. It will destroy us. So we've got to do this work. It's like the greatest thing that we ever could do is having the courage to laugh at yourself and to laugh with the world and to spread more joy and to go, wait a minute, cut ties with the lie, tether to the truth. The truth is, I am perfect. You are perfect. You are a beautiful blessing to the world. So let's bust the stress, bring in the blessedness, and thrive. Let's change the world.
Yes, let's do that. Thank you so much, Karen.
And have fun while we're doing it.
Yeah.
Guess what? There's enough out here. There's enough. There's no lack and limitation. It is only our perception of such. So it's bring it on, August abundance. Let's have that all the time. August abundance, always and in all ways. Yes?
Yes, yes, yes. And one little last question Cheryl wants to know, can you say those 3 points again? One was identify and
identify, recognize, and stop.
Okay, got it.
Identify the inner critic, recognizing its tactics, stopping it in its tracks. And with the stopping it in its tracks, you're using the 3S. Stop, spot, swap.
Okay.
Like a fly swatter. Get real still. And that's helping the center. And then swap it out.
Got it. Thank you. I will unmute everyone so everyone can say a big thank you. And then we'll close.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Lots of love.
You too.
Abounding grace, everybody. Have a fabulous day and an abundant rest of August.
You too.
Okay. Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank
Thank you, everybody, for being here.
All right, stop.